I've got a big update for you on the gold, silver, precious metal mining sector, plus the second component of this video for us to enjoy what is the world's most prestigious investment bank saying that I think is great news for the precious metals. And finally, thirdly, we'll cover some major stories that are going to impact the precious metals as we move into the following months, quarters, and years. I've got all that for you and a lot more. Let's go right now. I can't wait to tell you these three things that this fancy investment bank said about gold. I'll give you a hint. The name of the company rhymes with old man, but first we're going to talk about gold and silver this morning. Gold's trading right above 1,700 per ounce, about 1,715. I'm hoping it's building a base at 1,700. Now remember, this is the same guy who told you that he thought it was building a base at 1,800 and also 1,900. But I'm not hearing anyone really talking about gold getting much lower than 1,650 per ounce. That seems like an incredibly low number, especially a couple months ago when we were bumping our head against $2,000 gold. But one thing for sure, we will see what happened. Silver, $18.75. This stuff. All I can tell you about silver is I love it unconditionally. And I think you probably do too. It's going to do well in the future, and we're going to be here to watch that happen. The only thing I love a little bit more are my viewers. I so appreciate you deciding to join me today in Ron's Basement. You're important. Your time's important. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, turn on the bell notifications, and you have my explicit permission to share my video anywhere. Your church group, your Twitter, whatever you want to do. Now, let's move on to this fancy investment bank. And they are quickly becoming a friend of us precious metal investors. We didn't traditionally like this company, Goldman Sachs. And I think Goldman Sachs, I think they're sending us a subliminal message in the name of the company. They could have named themselves anything. They could have named themselves Houseman Sachs. They could have named themselves Stockman Sachs. But they choose Goldman Sachs. And I think I know why, because they've said three things lately that I believe to be very positive for the price of gold. Number one, they came out yesterday saying that the employment picture is going to get much worse in the United States. That's one of the main mandates of the Federal Reserve, to maintain high unemployment or low unemployment. If the employment picture worsens, that's going to give the Fed less ground, less of a stance to stand on as they want to be hawkish in their fight on inflation. So a worsening job market, we don't want to see that, right? It's like war or anything else. But nonetheless, if it's the reality is that is good for the price of precious metals. Next, Goldman Sachs yesterday said that they do not expect the Federal Reserve to raise rates at their next meeting by a full basis point. Everyone's thinking, oh, they're going to raise by 1% at the next meeting. Goldman Sachs is now predicting a 0.75% raise, which will be good for our friends gold and silver, because it will start to signal a bit of a change in the pendulum at the Fed, at least temporarily, back to a little more dovish stance. And Goldman Sachs is saying this because they believe that inflation expectations have come down. And if you aren't confused yet, let me try to explain this, or maybe confuse both of us a little more. In this perverted, upside-down world in which we live in, typically, traditionally, inflation is good for precious metals. However, when inflation starts to run really hot, then the Fed becomes tighter with monetary conditions, and that's bad for precious metals. It's a little confusing, but we're at a point of the process right now where if inflation comes down, that signals to the market that the Fed is going to stop being so hawkish. Ironically, good for the precious metals. Now, let's move on to the final third point from our friends at Goldman Sachs. Silverman Sachs, gold and Silverman Sachs. Maybe they'll change their name next year. Who knows? Nonetheless, they are predicting $2,500 gold by the end of the year. That will be awesome, right? And that will also be great for the price of silver. We'll see how that plays out. Now, finally, I want to touch on some big news stories that you need to know about and that also will impact the precious metals markets. This war in the Ukraine is really a war of the West versus the East. And we got some major news last night from Russia. They are claiming force majeure on gas deliveries to Germany. That basically means like we give up, there are conditions beyond our control, and we are not going to fulfill our commitments of supplying natural gas to Germany. That is major news because there is a huge energy crisis going on in Europe, in Germany right now. And I'm telling you guys, this is big, big stuff that I think is being grossly underestimated, especially by the Western media. And Russia shutting off gas, force majeure, and I had to look it up. I have to admit, I knew it meant like we give up or we're not going to deliver. Basically means that things were beyond their control and they just aren't going to fulfill their commitments to supply gas to Germany. I wonder if I can claim force majeure in terms of dealing with my twin 10-year-old daughters. Just kidding. In other major news regarding the Ukraine, the U.S. said that it was okay for the Ukraine to use these new missile systems we've provided them to attack Crimea. Crimea is considered to be part of Russia by Russia, even way before this whole current escalation in the conflict took hold. Crimea had traditionally been part of Russia. It was the first thing they took back when there was the initial revolution in Ukraine in 2014. Again, major, major news. And finally, let's keep talking about Russia, but shift over to crypto. Overnight, Vladimir Putin declared that cryptocurrency could no longer, he expanded the ban on cryptocurrency being no longer able to be used to settle payments for goods and services. He expanded the ban on cryptocurrency. And you know, crypto affects gold and silver. This crypto crash that's going on affects gold and silver because there's a lot of people in crypto who are going to want to come join us, the few, the proud, the precious metals investors. Now, one final thing on crypto, Anthony Scaramucci. I personally was never real impressed by that guy. He worked for Trump for about 11 days. He always gave me the creeps, like a lot of these people that are in the crypto field. Well, he announced that his hedge fund, Skybridge Capital, I believe it is suspending withdrawals. There is major liquidation issues going on within the cryptocurrency universe. Things could get much worse in that area and blow up. And again, I believe that to be positive for the price of silver and gold. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed my video. And seriously, I appreciate you spending some of your precious time with me here in the basement. You're always welcome here. I hope you come back. And until next time, you be well.